A is for Allah, nothing but Allah. Ba is the beginning of Bismillah. Ta is for taqwa, bewaring of Allah. And Tha is for thawab, a reward. Ja is for Jannah, the garden of paradise. Ha is for Hajj, the blessed pilgrimage. Kha is for Khatam, the seal of the prophethood given to the prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على المبعوث رحمة للعالمين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. Dear brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to this new episode of Ask Zad with its new timing again, which we used to air on it for quite a while, which is between Maghrib and Isha, Mecca time, every Saturday. We are waiting for your phone calls if you have any questions. And meanwhile, we will look into the emails. Abdullah says, there's a video on the internet where you said 2 to 3% of alcohol in a drink is okay and halal. Is this true? First of all, there is no such video on my YouTube channel. Yes, there was a segment that I did maybe 8 years ago or something like that, 8 or 9 years ago, and it was on Ask Huda. And I did say, while explaining the ruling on drinking non-alcoholic beer, which contains a percentage of beer, not the regular beer that intoxicates. I'm talking about the non-alcoholic beer that is sold in Saudi Arabia and in some Muslim countries as well. So I was explaining the ruling of it. Now, in order to give you a preview and for you to understand where I was coming from, I'd like you to walk with me, not necessarily hand in hand. First of all, what is the ruling on food, drinks, clothes we wear? What is the general ruling? Is it halal or haram? All scholars say that all food, drinks, clothes, things that we use, cars, watches, computers, cameras, TVs, all of these are halal. Allah Azza wa Jal said, it is He who created for you from or whatever is on this earth. All of it. So who created whatever is on earth? It's Allah Azza wa Jal. Which means that the default is everything on earth is halal. Someone says, so weed is halal, Sheikh? Said, no, because there is evidence proving that it is haram. So whatever you see from food, drinks, etc., is considered to be halal until proven otherwise. Easy? Alhamdulillah. So what's the ruling on eating French bread? Because it's French, it's haram. No, it's halal, it's bread. But it might have this or that. Prove it to me. Once it's proven, documented, it is haram. And I won't expand on this because this is common sense. This is what Islam, the Quran, the Hadith states upon. Now we come to the issue of the presence of alcohol. Alcohol itself is made of different types of alcohol, and the chemists know this, different compositions of alcohol. Yet, not everything that has alcohol is haram. Because alcohol by itself is not wine. it is not intoxicating. If you bring a ripe banana, for example, it contains alcohol, and it contains 0.5 grams of alcohol in it. So this is a percentage. If you bring orange juice, you'll find that it contains 0.125 grams of alcohol. And if you look, that is per liter. And if you look at the burger buns, such burger buns contain 1.28 grams per every 100 grams of it. So does this make it haram? How would I know? Very simple. As a mufti, as someone who's talking about Islam, halal and haram, we go to the Quran and to the Sunnah. The Quran totally prohibits intoxicants that would not make you know what you say. And this is one of the degrees of prohibiting intoxicants and wine, that you should not pray while you are in the state of intoxication, so that you would be aware of what you're saying. The Sunnah, there are so many hadiths. The Prophet ﷺ stated that whatever intoxicates, if consumed in large quantities, then a minute quantity of it would become haram. This is not referring to alcohol. This is referring to intoxicants, such as wine, whiskey, vodka, tequila, scotch, bourbon, gin, you name it. So these are intoxicants. Now, alcohol is one of the ingredients, but being there does not mean that it is haram or it becomes intoxicant. So the rule is, as our scholars say, if there is alcohol present in a juice or in a fruit or in dough, we put yates with dough so that it has this thing in it that makes it bigger, and I don't know what's called in English, but it has alcohol as well. They say that if the presence of alcohol, if you consume a large amount of it and you are not intoxicated, this means that it is permissible to consume. Because why is wine haram? Because if you drink a lot of it, you become intoxicated. If I have a barrel of whatever substance and I drink the whole thing and I'm not wasted, I'm not intoxicated, then drinking a little bit is okay. But if I have a bottle of a liquid, of a drink, and if I drink the whole bottle, I become wasted, I become drunk, then a single drop of it is haram. Understood, inshallah? Ya Rab. Hopefully you understand this. Coming back to the question of Brother Abdullah, and I have been bombarded by so many brothers, haters and lovers. Those who love me would advise me out of their love and care. And I pray to Allah Azza wa Jal that He brings all the goodness in this world and the hereafter to them for their kindness and their love. As for the haters, my skin is thick. In the beginning, I used to be depressed and saddened when people speak rudely and they abuse me publicly. But nowadays, alhamdulillah, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. My skin has become thick. This video that Brother Abdullah is talking about was conducted by an Ahmadi, Qadiani. And we all know how much they love me, because simply We don't pamper them. We say what the vast majority of all Muslims, different schools of thought, different sects, all agree that the Qadiani Ahmadis are kafir, are apostates. They do not belong to Islam. We cannot marry from them. We cannot eat their slaughtered meat. We cannot reply to their salam. When they die, we do not wash them, pray funeral prayer, or allow them to be buried in Muslim cemeteries. This is a well-known fact. It's not from my pocket. Go and ask any respected denomination, organization, Islamic committee, scholars, they all agree on that. So he came up with this video and saying, look at what this sheikh is saying. Out of what? To tarnish my reputation. And he has all the right to do that. It's a free country. Who cares? However, this is not our question. Did you, Sheikh Asim, say 2% to 3% in a drink is permissible because it does not waste? Yes, I did. Do you still stand by this? No, I don't. What do you mean? Akhi, when I talk about Islamic issues, I don't talk from my own self. I'm not a scholar. I don't come up and think, yeah, I think this is halal, this is haram. This is not up to me. I consult scholars, I research issues, and I quote what previous scholars said. I'm not someone who comes all of a sudden and says, Eureka, I came up with something no one else had ever spoken about. I'm the first one to, I don't know how the companions did not figure it out. I don't know how the scholars of Islam did not figure it. This is nonsense. Whatever I say, 99.99% is backed by quotes of scholars. So 2 to 3%, where did you get it from, Sheikh Asim? I got it from Sheikh Muhammad ibn Salih al-Uthaymin. And it's on YouTube, and it's in his books, and in his fatwas. This is what he said, that exactly as I explained to you, the presence of alcohol does not necessarily mean that it is intoxicating. However, if a drink such as non-alcoholic beer, which we have in our country, and there's Barbican, there's Musi, there's different kinds of such beer, and he said if it has 1%, 2%, or 3%, this does not intoxicate. So I quoted what the Sheikh said. Now, is it true or not? This is not to me to decide. I have given you the Islamic verdict, which segregates between wine and intoxicants and other foods and drinks that contain alcohol. How would we know? If consuming a lot of it intoxicates you, then this means it is considered to be wine, it's haram. If it doesn't, then drinking a little or a lot doesn't make any difference because it will not intoxicate you. Now, what is the percentage? This is something for the scientists, for the experts to come and say. Some of them, till date, after researching, say that 2.2 grams or around this ratio does not intoxicate. Some say no. The max is 0.5% in a liter or something, or less than that, in 100 milliliter. So it is an issue that scientists, doctors should contribute in. The principle is the same. Nothing changes. The percentage of 3%, yes, I beg to differ now. This was an exaggeration. Sheikh, how dare you quote something you're not sure of? Sue me. I give fatwas and I speak and I teach like all other shuyukh over thousands of issues per day. If one makes a mistake throughout the entire 20 years or 30 years of giving da'wah, MashaAllah, this is excellent track record. So don't shoot the messenger. Don't discredit someone just because he made a mistake or two. We can list so many mistakes of great scholars of Islam, great imams of Islam, but this doesn't discredit them. And it's not fair to only point out a single mistake in an ocean of goodness and of correct aqidah, correct fiqh issues, correct fatwas, correct advices, and you just come to one single thing. So, to sum things up, fairness is part of our religion. Allah Azza wa Jal tells us in the Quran, which the Qadianis don't believe in, if you hate a people, you must be fair, and your hatred must not make you transgress. This is what we as Muslims are obliged to do. So going back to the issue, I have talked about this so many times. I'm getting old, I'm getting tired. I hope this explains to you that everything is halal until proven otherwise. When we have this drink that has percentage of alcohol, you have to look whether consuming, if I consume of the local beer, non-alcoholic beer that we have here in Saudi Arabia, a full pack, a six-pack, nothing would happen. You have to go to visit the loo every 5 minutes, but nothing would intoxicate you because it does not intoxicate, and I hope this answers your question. A brother says, is doing wedding photography permissible? The event can be free mixing, and we may need to take photos of all the guests. First of all, Allah mentioned in Surah Al-Ma'idah in the very beginning, وَتَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْبِرِّ وَالتَّقْوَى وَلَا تَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْإِثْمِ وَالْعُدْوَانِ, that you should collaborate, cooperate on birr, on righteousness, on virtue, on goodness, and must not collaborate nor cooperate on evil, vice, and anything that is bad. What's the ruling on attending mixed weddings? Totally prohibited. Men and women mixing, this is not part of Islam, part of different cultures, part of different religions. Islam totally prohibits this. Islam even prohibits free mixing in the masjid. When the Prophet said, alayhi salatu wasalam, the worst of men's rows is the last, and the worst of women's rows is the first, and the best of men's rows is the first, and the best of women's rows is the last, so that the gap is far and wide between them both. In the masjid, in a prayer. What about attending such weddings when the women are wearing their best costume and looking the best they can? Glamorous, beautiful, makeup, perfume, and the men are doing the same. Definitely shaitan is not gonna sit there idle enjoying the show. So attending is haram. Now contributing to such events and celebrations by videography or photography is totally prohibited. So such a business is haram, the income is haram. If it is segregated, you are allowed to shoot men's gatherings, because women's gatherings are prohibited to film or to photograph. This defies the hijab. Why do we have hijab then? So men, yes. Children, yes, you can take their photographs, their videos without any problem, inshallah. An anonymous person says, I'm married but have not done rukhsati yet. Rukhsati in Urdu means consummating the marriage. So the contract is done, she's his wife. but they have not consummated the marriage. She has not moved into his house permanently. He says, they are saying, his in-laws, after 1 year, you can take your bride home due to their personal family issues. My question is, till that time, can I have intimacy with my wife using contraceptives, using condoms? First of all, as long as this is the agreement between the two families and you agree to that, you have to honor and respect it. She is your wife the moment the contract has been signed. You had the right to say, no, I demand to take my wife tonight, or next week, or next month, or next year. This is up to you. Because you agreed to postpone the consummation of marriage for a full year, you have to honor that. As long as she is with her father's responsibility and in his house, he provides for her. Financially, you're not obliged to do anything or give her anything. However, for you to consummate the marriage, not publicly, but between you and your wife, totally legit, totally halal, you're not sinning, you're not fornicating, you're not doing anything wrong, she's your wife. You can talk to her, you can touch her, you can look at her, no problem. However, we have customs to respect. So people know that she has not consummated marriage. And after 3 months, she's got a baby. What is this? People would accuse her of something that is not honorable. Her father would be feeling like he was stabbed in the back. So, generally speaking, you should not have any intimacy with your wife until you get the green light from the father. How is that possible? I'm too shy to ask. Well, if her father says to you, come and spend the weekend in our home, and they allocate a room for you and for your wife to sleep in, what greener light are you looking for? You must be colorblind if you don't see this. But if they are careful not to leave you guys for too long alone, and every like 5-10 minutes someone knocks on the door, you would like some drinks, you like some juice, you like some food, you like, what is this? It's an open buffet, khalas, I don't want anything. You get the feeling that they don't want anything to happen so that it would not tarnish their reputation and the reputation of your wife. Therefore, you have to play it safe. You can always demand that, listen, I'm not going to wait for a year. I want my wife, and I want it ASAP. My house is ready. It's furnished. I'm financially capable. Then, inshallah, things would progress, bi'idhnillah. So I think we have a short break. Stay tuned, and inshallah, we'll be right back.
محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today I'm going to talk about the book Interactions of the Greatest Leader. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam reminded us through his guidance and example that Islam is complete submission to the will of Allah. For one who submits, a mere declaration or display of belief will not be taken for success, but his or her heart and soul will certainly be put to test. Allah tested the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam severely in order that he sallallahu alaihi wasallam becomes an example for his companions to follow. Similarly, he tests the believer to see whether he lives a righteous life in accordance with the instructions and commands set by Allah, or lives according to what his desires dictate. Whether the faith he displays is firmly rooted in his heart, or is it merely on the surface. He will be tested to see whether he will continue to have faith and love of Allah, when in a calamity as he does when in comfort? Whether he will continue to remember and worship him if given bounties and comforts of life as he does when he lives a modest life? Allah will undoubtedly test him to see if his faith, trust, and love of him is unconditional, or is it conditioned upon good health and a comfortable life, free from stress and anxiety. The Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam showed us through his own example that for a righteous Muslim, this life is a testing ground where he will continue to be tested until he meets Allah. For him, tests will be conducted on earth while he lives, and not after he dies. He knows that as soon as death arrives and he steps into the next world, his tests are over. There, he only receives the result of his tests and enjoys the fruits of the deeds that he committed during a short span of time called life.
Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, and welcome back. Our fourth question, Abdul Malik says, if I put on my socks in the state of wudu and also put on my shoes and later wipe over the shoes, if I take off the shoes, can I then wipe over the socks? Or is this not possible because I initially wiped over the shoes? Meaning, is wiping only possible over the shoes? So we know that in Islam, when you perform ablution, you wash your feet at the end of your ablution. We have a concession where if you perform a full wudu, you wash your feet, and then you put on your socks or your shoes in the state of wudu, you have the concession to, whenever you want to perform ablution again, after answering the call of nature, after waking up from sleeping, etc., that instead of taking off your shoes or your socks to wash them in this second wudu, you can simply wipe over it, providing that you had them on after washing your feet in a wudu, in an ablution, and you did not take them off since. Secondly, that the socks or the shoe itself cover the whole foot, which you're obliged to wash. So if it is a short type of socks that goes below the ankles and you can see the ankles, then this does not work. It has to cover the whole foot and the ankles. The brother Abdul Malik is asking about wiping over the shoes. So I did the wudu, washed my feet, wore my socks, and then put on my shoes. I'm presuming that the shoes have a high neck, which means that they do cover the ankles. So my whole foot is covered. Can I wipe over them? No problem, you can wipe over them. So I prayed Dhuhr by wiping, I prayed Asr by wiping. Then I answered the call of nature. I went home, I took off my shoes, but I had my socks on. When I come to offer wudu or ablution for Maghrib, can I wipe over my socks because I did not take them since Fajr, when I made the original wudu, where I washed my feet? So can I wipe over my socks? The answer is no. Why? Because what you had wiped on were the shoes. And because you took off the shoes, the concession of wiping has ended. And you need to perform a new wudu with washing the feet. Not that your wudu has broken by taking off the shoes. No, you can still pray. If your wudu is intact, you can still pray Maghrib, Isha, etc. But if you broke your wudu and you took your shoes off, you cannot wipe over the socks. You have to take the socks off and wash your feet. And I hope this answers your question. Tahir says, what is the ruling on eating or drinking while standing up? In regards to drinking, there are hadiths that the Prophet ﷺ prohibited drinking while in the state of standing up. But there are other hadiths where he ﷺ drank standing up, where Ali, may Allah be pleased with him, the fourth caliph, stated that I could care less whether I drink standing or sitting, for I had seen the Prophet ﷺ drink standing. So when you look at all these different evidences, you come to the conclusion that the prohibition of drinking while standing up is not because it is haram, rather because it is disliked. What do you mean? We have prohibition that is haram. If you do it, you're sinful. If you skip it, you'll reward it. Then we have something called makruh, which is not recommended, not liked. If you do it, you're not sinful. But if you leave it, Allah will reward you. Then we have something that is permissible. You do it or leave it, it's up to you. Then we have a fourth level, which is recommended and liked. If you do it, you're rewarded. If you don't do it, you're not sinful. Then the final one is obligation. It's mandatory. If you do it, you're rewarded. And if you don't, you're sinful and you will be punished for that. These are the 5 rulings, al-ahkam al-taklifiyah, that each one of us, when he does something, one of these 5 must be implemented on whatever we do. So when we look at drinking, standing up, we see that there is a prohibition by the Prophet ﷺ, but at the same time, he had done it. Not only he, even Ali, Uthman, Umar, may Allah be pleased with them all, they all drank standing up. Ibn Umar mentioned it, that we used to drink, and the companions used to drink while standing up. So we know, as Ibn Hajar says, Al-Imam al-Nawawi says, that this is not prohibited, but it is not recommended. If there is a need to drink while standing up, go ahead, no problem. You're not sinful. And if there's no need, still you're not sinful, but it's more likely better for you to sit down. Because even the doctors say that this is healthier. What about eating? Well, eating, you will not find any hadith by the Prophet himself ﷺ prohibiting it or even disliking it. Yet some scholars say it's even worse than drinking standing up. Where did they get this from? Only from the hadith of Anas. Anas was asked by Qatada when he narrated the hadith of not drinking and the instruction of the Prophet ﷺ to someone to vomit it. So Qatada asked Anas, what about eating? He said, eating is far worse than drinking standing up. But Ibn Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, also said that the companions used to drink while standing and they used to eat while standing. They did this and they sat down. They did both, which means that it is permissible and it is not like drinking standing up. Because standing up, there are hadiths supporting not to do it. Yet eating has no hadith and hence it is permissible. But again, it is best for you to eat and drink while sitting down just to be safe, and Allah knows best. A brother says, is it permissible to wear clothes with branded logos that have animal images? And what if the clothes have a cross on them? First of all, images of imitating the creation of Allah. Images of a man with a face, eyes, nose. Images of an animal. Images of a cartoon character. Mickey Mouse, Superman, whatever. All of these are prohibited. And these prevent angels from entering your house. We're clear. What about images that do not have a face? Like a silhouette, for example. Like some logos of Puma. That does not have a face, does not have an eyes, just a drawing. Like the emojis, or the smileys, not the emojis, the smileys. They don't have a life in them. There's nothing. Scholars say that these are permissible. So you have Pumas, there's no problem. You have Lacoste, well, I have a problem. I just got a couple or 3 t-shirts, gifts for Eid from my siblings. But they had a Lacoste, which you can see the eyes, you can see the mouth and the nose of the crocodile or of the alligator. So this is not permissible. Then what to do? Simply put a button on the head, scratch it out, put some nail polish, suitable color so that it wouldn't look weird, and that's it. End of story, no problem. But if the crocodile itself is 3D, it's a statue rather than a logo. A logo is 2D, so it's a drawing. There's no problem in that. But when it is a statue, it is something that has dimensions 3D, then this becomes totally prohibited. You have to cut the head off. And this cascades down to all statues. You have Kiplings. I've seen a lot of the girls in my family. They love Kiplings, which has a monkey. And the monkey is more important than the bag itself to them. But the monkey is a statue. This definitely prevents the angels from accompanying you and protecting you. And when you tell them remove it, they refuse. This is haram. This is a statue. You cannot have this. Unless it's for a child of 5 or 6 years of age to play with this doll, then this is okay. But when she's a woman of 30 or 40 years of age, this is weird. So this is when it comes to logos, branded logos that has drawings in them. What about if it has a cross? Some people are too sensitive when it comes to cross. And they think that anything that is this is considered to be a cross, which is not. So the cross that people acknowledge as a cross is prohibited. And we all know that this is a symbol that the Christians glorify because they believe that Jesus Christ, peace be upon him, was crucified on a cross. So anyone, when you say the word cross, the first thing that comes to your mind is something that is vertical and horizontal, where the vertical side is, the tip of it is shorter than the lower part. This is a cross. This is where people are crucified on, usually. But not everything that is a cross considered to be a cross that we have to dismantle and to destroy. It is part of our sunnah. Our Prophet, the Prophet ﷺ, whenever he saw something that was in the form of a cross, he used to dismantle it, to destroy it, to cover it. So whether it's a piece of wood, as long as it is part of being a cross. But some people are so extreme, so sensitive, they don't go to study math. Why? Because there's cross and multiplication. So what? So no, this is cross. We have to, division, okay, maybe. But this is not related to Islam. So great scholars of Islam say that not everything that you see around you is a cross. Sheikh Ibn Uthaymeen, for example, says that there was a long time ago a Swiss watch. And we know that Switzerland has their logo as a cross, like in the Red Cross, which are all equal. And such a cross does not relate to the cross we were just talking about. So he said that we asked the manufacturers of the clock whether this Abu Salib, it used to be called, is this a real cross? I said, no, this is not related to a cross. Like Mont Blanc, for example. Star, which some people call David Star, and it is not. It is referring to the tip of a mountain covered with snow. And it has nothing to do with David Star. So some people come and say, oh, this is haram to wear. You should not wear this, Sheikh. This is resembling the Jews and loving. This has nothing to do with it. So again, coming back to the story, if you have a cross that signifies, that indicates that this country is a Christian country, they're honoring their cross and they're putting it in their flag, you have to remove this because this is a cross. But if it's something like the Red Cross, like some of them knives and stuff that has this Red Cross on it, this seems okay, inshallah. If you remove it, jazakallah khair, but don't be too sensitive over such issues. Maryam says, what's the Islamic ruling on donating blood, especially in blood banks? Can we donate to a non-Muslim? Donating blood to a blood bank is a good deed that Allah would reward you for, because helping humanity is something that you will be rewarded for, whether a Muslim or a non-Muslim. There's no problem at all in donating blood, because this is a humanitarian thing. However, you cannot charge, you cannot sell your blood and make money out of this, because this is totally prohibited. Muhammad from Jordan.
Hi, Sheikh. How are you?
Hayyak Allah.
Thank you for this useful program.
Yes, sir.
I want to ask about what is the rule to watch programs and films and some videos have sexual suggestion and some means bad and don't have any manners.
Okay. Any more questions?
No, thanks you.
Barakallah fiqh. Brother Muhammad from Jordan says, what's the ruling on watching movies, TV series, stand-up comedian programs, any kind of what they call nowadays entertainment that has sexual implications, insinuations, hints, bad words? Akhi Muhammad, all of this is totally prohibited in Islam. Now, I'm talking about Islam. I'm talking about Quran and Sunnah. Nowadays, unfortunately, Muslims have been brainwashed. They don't look at things from the perspective of halal and haram. They don't want to know whether Allah approves of it or not, though they know deep down that this is prohibited and Allah Azza wa Jalla is angry with them. But people don't care. People are so drifted away from Quran and the Sunnah, they just look like Muslims, talk like Muslims, but actually, when push comes to shove, they might not be Muslims. So anything that has music, any program that has men and women mixing, or women who are not abiding by the hijab, and there's no program that you find women abiding by the hijab. This is not the hijab. When she has full makeup on, 5-10 kilograms of foundation and shading and mascara and all this, the whole 9 yards, and then she's covering her head. What is this? I'm hijabi. No, you're not hijabi. Give me a break. this is haram. If it has music, it's haram. If it has obscenity and profanity, the words that they use, the context of the program of the film, it's haram. All of these are tools of shaitan to brainwash us, to make us freaks that are not related to our religion, to Islam, the religion of purity, the religion of peace, the religion of chastity, the religion of righteousness. The Prophet ﷺ said, the believer is not a slanderer, is not someone who uses obscenity and profanity, does not curse. And all what we see, all what we're bombarded by through entertainment is things that take you out of the circle of Islam into the circle of evil. May Allah Azza wa Jal protect us. Fatima says, what's the ruling on singling out Friday or Saturday for fasting the 6 days of Shawwal? And what about the missed fasts of Ramadan and other obligatory fasts? The most authentic opinion is that the Prophet said, alayhi salatu wassalam, do not specify Friday by fasting. In Sahih al-Imam Muslim, the Prophet said, do not specify the night of Friday with night prayer, and do not specify the day of Friday with fasting. And in the authentic hadith, the Prophet comes home, meets one of his wives, finds her fasting. And that was on a Friday. He asks her, did you fast yesterday? That is Thursday. She said, no. Do you intend to fast tomorrow, which is a Saturday? She said, no. He says, break your fast. Now, the Prophet ﷺ did not ask her, why are you fasting? When he said, do not single out Friday with fasting, he did not make an exception. It's a general rule. However, the scholars came and said, there is no difference of opinion that if the fasting is obligatory, you can single out Friday. What do you mean by obligatory? Either you're fasting a missed day of Ramadan, it's obligatory, or you're fasting a vow. I make a vow, if Allah cures my child, I will fast 1 day. And I fast it on a Friday, no problem. Because it is not intended as a Friday. It is intended to fulfill your vow. Thirdly, if you fast expiations, someone who swears not to do something, changes his mind, financially he cannot feed 10 people or clothe them, so he fasts 3 days, singles one of these 3 days on a Friday or a Saturday, no problem in that. Now, some scholars cascaded this a little bit further. And they said that if someone fasts a Friday alone, not because it's a holiday or it's a noble day or it is a day of great value to the Muslims, rather because this is his only day off, or because it coincides with Arafah or with Ashura or with this or with that, in this case it becomes okay. Likewise, they said that the 6 days of Shawwal fall under this category. So some scholars say that this is permissible. If you want to fast the 6 days of Shawwal, which are voluntary, and you single 1 day of these 6 days on a Friday alone, not fasting Thursdays nor Saturday afterwards, they said that this is halal. I personally believe that it is safer for you not to do this. So you should fast a day before it or a day after it, rather than singling it out, and Allah Azza wa Jal knows best. Mujtaba says, when we meet our elders, we meet and greet them by bowing down a little out of respect, and they put their hands on our heads. Is this permissible? If not, then advise me on how should we greet elders. This mujtaba includes bowing, which bowing is a ibadah, is a form of worship to Allah Azza wa Jal. Muslims do not bow, do not prostrate other than to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because this is a form of worship which cannot be diverted or redirected to any other than Allah Azza wa Jal. Therefore, bowing down even a little for the elders and for them to put their hands over the heads, and I'm presuming it's the same gender or it's mahram, this is not permissible, because this shows a great deal and amount of submission. So you are submissive to this uncle or to this grandfather, and you're bowing your head and you're waiting for the blessing of him touching your head. All of this is not permissible. So what to do, Sheikh? If we don't do this, they become angry. This makes it even worse. See, kissing the hand of a parent is totally legit. Kissing the hand of a scholar is permissible if it is a form of getting closer to Allah, not a form of praising this scholar. The scholars say, such as Imam Nawawi and others, if the person you're kissing his hand is giving you his hand to kiss, like some of the officials and the big shots, they expect everyone to kiss their hands or to kiss their ring. If someone does this, it becomes more prohibited for you to do that. You should not do this, even if he becomes angry, because then this is a form of humiliation. He's humiliating you by you kissing his hand. So what do you think about someone who expects you to bow to him? But what about the Japanese? It's a culture in Japan and maybe, I don't know, if in Korea or somewhere else, where they just, bow down and konnichiwa. This is not permissible. It's a cultural thing. But when Islam comes, it transforms you inside out. So whatever is permissible in our religion, you have the green light. If not, then you have to refrain. Whether people are angry or happy, this is not our problem. My problem is that Allah would be happy with me. Shanaz says, I have a small doubt and hope you can clarify at your earliest, inshallah. Okay. I just want to know the practice of reciting a surah from the Quran before starting a meeting or a halaqah, a circle, or any sort of gathering, is sunnah or is it an innovation? Did the Prophet ﷺ and his companions legitimize this? The answer is that what is happening nowadays in all conferences, in all gatherings, in masjid lectures, in university graduation ceremony, you have someone coming, reciting a Quran, a page or so, and then they continue to do their function. This is a clear innovation. The Prophet never had done this, alayhi salam. The Imams of Islam had never done this in Islam. This is something that came like maybe less than 100 years ago. Before that, it was never present. However, if this is done randomly, or if it is used to something that is beneficial, meaning that I have a lecture on Hajj, and they inaugurate my lecture with a recitation on Hajj. So the guy recites verses of the Hajj, I comment on these, give interpretation, tafsir, and I go into my lecture. This is totally legit. But to have this done every single time, this is an innovation. Nuwaira says it is permissible to fast or make an umrah if we want any halal wish of ours fulfilled. This is not part of the sunnah. Don't go for umrah for this reason. Go for umrah because it's a blessed form of worship. It's a blessed place. It's a blessed time. And while you are at it, make dua. This is totally legit. But to simply fast, not to worship Allah, rather to get your dua fulfilled or answered, this is not permissible. if someone does a form of worship for the sake of Allah, anticipating worldly reward from that, there's no problem in that, inshallah. We have a couple of questions more, but I think that we are already running out of time. So until we meet next Saturday between Maghrib and Isha Mecca time, I leave you fi amanillah. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
A is for Allah, nothing but Allah. Ba is the beginning of Bismillah. Ta is for taqwa, bewaring of Allah. And Tha is for thawab, a reward. Ja is for Jannah, the garden of paradise. Ha is for Hajj, the blessed pilgrimage. Kha is for Khatam, the seal of the prophethood given to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.